Hey, good morning, church. I pray all is well with you this Friday morning as we continue our study in God's Word. Now, I'm going to, like I did last week, attempt to do our memory verse at the start of this. So this week we'll be memorizing Romans chapter 12, verses 6 and 7. And so let me see how good I can do this week. All right, it starts. Having then gifts, according to the grace that has been given to us, let us use them. If prophecy, then let us prophesy in the proportion of faith that has been given to us. Ministry, then let us minister. He who teaches, let him teach. All right, I kind of choked up a little bit there, messed up a little, but I like what this verse is telling us about using the gifts that God has given us. And I would tell you, everyone needs to be using the gifts. They are a blessing from God, and use them to accomplish His purpose in this world. All right, now over to Psalms chapter 55. I will tell you, Psalms 55, you could just read this text and think that it was okay. But if you think about the setting that this was probably set in and what was going on, and this was written by King David, but what was going on in his life, most people believe that this was the story that's related in 2 Samuel, probably around chapters 13 to 17. And what has happened in this time of David's life is Absalom, his son, in fact, the son that he dearly loved, is rebelling. And it's a rebellion unlike most of us have ever seen, where he's literally trying to overthrow his dad, and even to the point of wanting to kill his dad. But also one of David's right-hand men has also turned on him. So now whenever you read what is going on inside of Psalms 55, and you have this picture of your mind that he's writing about his dear son that he loves, and this conflict that is going on between the two. So when you read in verse number 4, my heart is severely pained within me. You see, that takes on a different meaning, that he says, because he's talking about his own son. And the terrors of death have fallen upon me. Fearlessness and trembling have come upon me. And he says that he's overwhelmed. You see, David, with this reality of what was going on inside his own family, and knowing that this was a result of sin that had been inside his life, because the consequences of that sin, he was forgiven for the sin with Bathsheba, but there's still consequences to that sin. You see, then in verse number 6, whenever he says this, in fact, it reminded me of a story in Forrest Gump, the movie, whenever he says, David says, so I said, oh, that I had wings like a dove, I would fly away and be at rest. He said, I just want to be out of here. I just want to fly away. It reminds me of in that movie where Jenny sits down, and her abusive dad, she just said she wanted to be a bird so she could fly far, far away, because she was living with an abusive dad. Well, that's what David was going through at this moment. And so as you read this, you hear all this trouble and pain that's going on. It actually reminded me of lots what's going on inside our world right now, with all the division and all the stuff. It talks about these fighting in the streets and all this stuff. It really described us. But I want to point out a couple of things. If you're going through distress, or you have pain inside your life right now, whether it's a family member or if it's this whole thing going on with COVID and decisions that you're having to make, look at what it says in verse number 16. For as for me, I will call upon the Lord. See, that's what David, through all this that was going on, he says, but for me, I'm going to call upon the Lord. Jump down to almost the very end, verse number 22. It says, cast your burdens on the Lord, and he shall sustain you. You want to be sustained? Be sustained by the Lord. He shall never permit the righteous to be moved. God will not permit the righteous to be moved. And then make sure you focus on the very last sentence where he says, but I will trust in you. See, at the very end, with all the trouble and pain that was going on in David's life, he came to this point. I will trust in you, Lord. Anyway, I hope that you enjoy studying Psalms 55. May God bless. Look forward to seeing you Sunday morning. Have a great day.